What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday. Welcome into Attacking Third, presented by PNC Bank. Brilliantly boring since 1865. I don't know about boring, but for sure are brilliant. Darian Jenkins, Christine Cupo. I'm Aly Trost-Martin. Ladies, it was a big night last night in the NWSL for a number of reasons, because number one, we officially reached the halfway point of the NWSL season. And number two, we also hit 1 million total fans showing up this year in the NWSL at the exact halfway point in the season, which is growth from last season when that number was hit at game number 127. We already knew this. Women's sports, stock way up. Really fun. Darian?
I love it. I'm here for it. To see how much the league has grown, like 1 million fans halfway through the season. I mean, Kansas City, like we have to think about the stadiums that are selling out consistently, that are hitting new benchmarks for how many fans are in attendance. A Game Spirit just hit theirs. I love it. It's just going to keep going up.
It is.
Yeah, it's almost nice to see the correlation between access points for fans
and
to
visibility,
enjoy the game, and visibility, and investment, and quality on the field, bringing in more fans. It's almost like it's a logical leap.
You know what also brings in more fans? Really, really entertaining and compelling players to go out and watch. And one of those players is Jane Campbell at the Houston Dash. She has been such a key part of this team. And Houston, they've rewarded her with a 4-year extension. The deal will run through 2027 with an option for 2028. And Campbell would have been an unrestricted free agent following the conclusion of the 2024 season. Houston going out and making sure a player who has been really important for them this season, Darian, gets her bag, gets that comfort of staying with the club. What's your reaction to this move for the Dash?
I'm super happy for Jane Campbell and the Dash. I mean, she has had an exceptional career with the Dash. I mean, for a player, especially a goalkeeper, to stay at this one club for as long as she has, she's leaving a legacy. And it's been fun because her game has developed. I mean, the Dash have had difficult years. She's been the constant for them, not only in saves, her leadership, the way she's able to build out of the back. She's a huge, huge personality piece for this team, and it's great to see that they're continuing to trust her, build around her, show that they value her by giving her this massive extension. And I hope she's getting her bag.
Exactly.
Get paid. I know, I said that kind of presumptuously.
Because leaving a keeper like Jane Campbell with the potential to depart, and knowing that all eyes are on her now, especially with the European leagues burgeoning, that's dangerous territory. So yeah, give Jane Campbell whatever she wants, whenever she wants.
Speaking of European leagues and a team in Lyon who have found the next person in charge after the departure of Sonia Bonpastor, they have hired head coach Joe Montemurro, who most recently just coached Juventus, winning a Coppa Italia and a Supercoppa during his tenure. All right, Cupo, coming to you on this one. How would you assess this move?
I think it's good. I think overall, Joe Montemurro has been very, very good, although this isn't his first time stepping into some very big shoes. He had that exact occasion for Juventus, following up Rita Guarino, who was just an absolutely historically amazing manager for that side, who had won nearly everything consistently. Joe, his first season at Juve, managed to accomplish a treble, which is no small feat. Unfortunately, as things sort of have carried forward, things have been petering out. Juve don't really have the appetite for managers that don't consistently bring them maximum trophies season over season. His departure was kind of seen as ahead. He also had a really successful career at Arsenal Women. So, to see this coming full circle, where he's got this Lyon opportunity and he has to follow up a Sonia Bonpastor, who also is an absolutely phenomenal manager, who won 7 trophies for Lyon, and also has had a tenure 8 years under the academy, training them prior to having her playing career, or rather after having her playing career there. So he's got his work cut out for him. It seems like he knows the ropes. He knows what it's like to sort of slide in there and get things done almost immediately. It's really a test of him to see his longevity.
Big shoes to fill at Lyon, so going to be fun to see what happens with that assignment. Bringing it back stateside into the NWSL, this was a pretty controversial story this week that I'm sure all of you saw. The Portland Thorns, they lost their appeal for Sophia Smith's red card suspension. Smith received a second yellow for time wasting in the Thorns match against North Carolina Courage. And not only did Portland lose their appeal, but they also lost the $10,000 bond and their ability to appeal any future decisions through the end of the 2025 season. Smith's fine, on the other hand, and suspension was also initially doubled, but the NWSLPA was able to step in and win their own appeal. So Portland, their punishment stays. The extras added on for Sophia Smith are dropped. And all of us, Darian, were wondering, why would Portland appeal this?
For me, they lost the plot a little bit of let's go best interest of our player. What are you appealing? It's Sophia Smith. She was clearly trying to joke around, hide the ball.
4K.
Yeah, I mean, there's evidence everywhere. The camera's always going to be on you. You're going to provisionally going to the Olympics. You're MVP of the league right now. You're leading goal scorer of the league. This was not smart of her. She's never going to do it again, I'm certain. But for Portland to appeal it, knowing what's at risk, that it could be doubled and that your name is Sophia Smith, they're going to make an example out of you, which I understand the league's position on that. The issue is with Portland deciding to appeal it. You're now losing your player for 2 games before the PA. Thank God for the PA and their ability to appeal and have the actual best interest of the player. Losing your best player on your team for 2 games, you've now lost your rights to appeal for, you know what, if there's a bad call that leads to a penalty or a player getting a red card that affects the outcome of a game that can lead into playoffs or a shield or a championship, you've lost all of that. It's just not smart on Portland's behalf. It seemed like a gut check reaction to go for an appeal when there's complete evidence that it was very valid. It is very valid for that red.
It seemed like a very ego-led,
Yes.
hubris. Just the act itself was, we can get away with this somehow. Like, they'll just laugh this off. But I think it's the importance of the statements that the board and that PA are making, that all the checks and balances, especially in NWSL, right, more broadly, need to be in place and they need to be functional. And I think it was a good test of that. Now, is it a lesson learned? Yes. Is it a precedent set? Absolutely. But there's no reason that any player, but especially Sophia Smith, should be doing something this silly and juvenile in the middle of a game, because just the messaging, even if you want to dice it up and get more granular, is like, what message are you trying to send? You don't have faith in your team, or you just don't take this game seriously, and or the
Not
fans that are
respecting the
showing up for
opponent.
this game. Like, this is a game, right? It's not an exhibition. It's not a friendly. You're not there for a celebrity match doing a pickup game where you can do these like jokey things. Like,
The rules are rules.
right, rules are rules. And, the league is going to take things seriously to the extent that they can. Now, I totally agree with the actions that followed in that, if you want to waste the time of the bodies that govern NWSL, then you should seek extra, you owe the league that at this point. It's just silly. You've embarrassed yourself twice. And now my other issue is having to waste the PA's time to appeal something so stupid when there's other things to attend to.
Well, thank God for the PA. But then thinking ahead for Portland, was this one match that she's already missed really worth you now losing the ability to appeal in 2025?
And that's a game, too, that Sophia Smith missed. It ended in a draw.
Yeah.
They're not neck and neck with Seattle towards the top of the table as they have been in years past. But either way, every point matters. As we know in the NWSL, it is a very competitive league.
Points.
There's a lot of parity. If you're Portland, you don't want to look back and see that as a game, because Darian later on in the show is going to show us how different Portland's attack looked without Sophia Smith. So stay tuned for that, because that's coming your way next. But we have some midweek action to recap in the NWSL. A couple of matches kicking off last night as Gotham, they got a big win at home taking on the San Diego Wave, their first ever win against the Wave, might I add, and are now unbeaten in 9 games. Darian, they didn't have their leading goal scorer, Ella Stevens, but it didn't matter. Roosevelt kicked things off with this banger, and then Macy Bell got the match winner. What did you learn about Gotham last night?
I mean, depth. Look, Mandy Freeman up there at the 9. Shout out. She is having a hell of a season, especially coming from, not starting games, not playing games, to starting and now going into position. She doesn't play. She's always been a defender. But Macy Bell, the rookie, with this brilliant touch, brilliant finish, all right foot, outside of the foot, she's putting it away. It shows their depth. It shows that they have found their groove in the season, multiple games now with 2 goals finally. We're seeing them have some rhythm. I think they've proven that defensively they are Loctite. They are one of the best defensive teams in the league. The way that they press, the way they recover the ball. I think Rose Lavelle now being in good form and healthy, knock on wood, is so great for them. But I love it. Please knock on something. Please knock on something. But it's great for them. I think we're seeing consistency, which is so important, and they're finding that at the perfect time in the season, in my opinion, with players that are about to leave. They have those rotations, they have the people that can fill in where the level isn't dropping, and they're able to maintain what they're working towards, which is another championship.
Yeah, I also just love the tone that Coach Juan Carlos Amaros has set there, where it's like everyone should always be up to speed and ready to go. And I feel like you've seen that time and time again in just sort of the fluidity and the positions. Now, seeing Mandy Freeman play as a 9, we saw a few weeks back, it's like done in the 9, in the 10, in the, wherever you want to slot her. It's very much like whoever is the most prepared and ready to go, and you can slot anybody anywhere.
Yeah.
That versatility is only going to make your team stronger as the season goes on, no doubt.
We're also seeing how competitive Gotham is. I mean, now Delaney Sheehan's starting, and we're seeing a lot of rotations where, you know what, if you're not coming in and you're not scoring, you're not taking your opportunities to take a shot, I think it's become much more competitive. There's more on the line when you do get those minutes. Something must come of it. Somebody on the bench will come in and fill in for you if you don't.
That competition just makes everyone that much better as Gotham looking to defend their title this season. The other matchup, the later one, Angel City at home taking on Racing Louisville. And for Angel City, they got just their second home win of the season, which is crazy when you consider how incredible the fan base is at BMO Stadium. And it was Sydney Leroux who found the late winner in the game. Angel City really needed that one, Cupo. What did that win do for this group, do you think?
Oh, I think it's massive. I think Angel City have had a hard time this season thus far, just dealing with injuries and just gelling and figuring out what was going to work for them. But I also think Sydney Leroux might have heard me, because the first half, I said she's only had 11 touches and really like one shot. And all of a sudden in the second half, Sid Leroux pulled up as she does. And when she says I'm getting a goal, she gets a goal. And she like ran straight through that. The way that she was so determined, I was like, I'm moving out of the way.
That was vintage Sid Leroux right there.
Yeah, I was like, okay, Mama's got it. Yeah, for sure.
And Darian, this was also just the 5th game this season that Angel City have scored 2 or more goals. Offensively, they had been slow at times. What was working so well for them in this game to put up 3?
They looked hungry, and I think they were just clinical in front of goal. I mean, we've heard Becky Tweed, talk at length that they create opportunities. They create equal opportunities to their opponents. They're just not clinical in front of goal. But this has been a really good win for Angel City, because they've created these opportunities. We've seen the Thompson sisters balling out. The combination play in those channels and those pockets of space with Emsley, Jasmine Spencer, Giselle Thompson, I think has been really good. And we're seeing them finally get to the final point, which is just putting goals away. So I'm really happy for them. I think they might be my dark horse for the season, because I think once they put it all together and can maybe box defend a little bit better, they're going to be similar to how they were last year in that playoff run, which was crazy.
Oh, man. That was absolutely bonkers as Becky Tweed looks to find that identity and get this Angel City team back to the playoffs after doing it as the interim last season. More to come here on Attacking Third. Darian's going to have a tactical breakdown coming your way next on Portland Thorns and how different they looked without some of their key players. Hey, welcome back to Attacking Third. Now time for our brilliantly boring segment presented by PNC Bank. And this is an opportunity to highlight some of the under-the-radar aspects of the beautiful game. And Darian, I know that you put on your glasses, you kicked back, you
really did have
parsed through the clips from the scoreless draw between Seattle Reign and Portland Thorns and really saw how much Portland were lacking offensively without the likes of Sophia Smith, without the likes of Sam Coffey and Olivia Moultrie as well.
It was very difficult for Portland to get clear-cut chances and all-around confidence in front of goal. Here's some clips that just reflect that. There's, not much in the attack going on. Janine Becky is who drove most of it. Here, keep your eye on D'Aquila on the back post. Becky tries to let play develop. There's really nothing more she can do but whip this ball in. Great ball, but off frame and offside. But a good little warm-up in the beginning of the game for Portland. Keep your eye here on D'Aquila. Seattle trying to play out, which they had a lot of success with until Portland started to read that it was going to one of the 2 6s. Great step here. Ball goes out to Becky, and she looks to cut it back, but there's nobody in that center pocket of the 18. She opts to go near post, but McClernand does just enough to make it go out of bounds, off frame. Not a great attempt, not great creativity from Portland in the attack to do anything with their opportunity. Here, Jess Fleming, great turn. Watch how Janine Becky is able to expose the space that Lou Barnes leaves as she tries to defend this. Becky gets on this end of this ball. And for me, these two runs are great, but the space is truly at the top of the D. There needs to be a deeper runner, or run needs to be delayed, because that's the better opportunity than this. A lot of half chances, nothing really clear. It's, again, a lack of confidence for me in these positions that don't show much. Keep your eye over here on Mueller. Kelly Hubley does great, drives pressure, slips this ball through, and then look at the runs into the 18. There's not much conviction knowing that there's a cross coming in. You can see there's a big amount of space between the goalkeeper and the defenders. This is where you should be crashing the goal, where you're hungry to score, knowing this is an opportunity. Now even there's players standing around and there's this really weak half chance. And as a player, I understand it's frustrating. Sometimes it doesn't come off of your foot well, but it's the confidence, it's the body language of Portland. We're not seeing enough. Keep your eye on Janine Becky, this brilliant in and out run. This is probably Portland's best chance, in my opinion, because it looked like there was heart in this attack. She gets around McClernand, whips this ball in, and Diaz gets on the end of it, life and limb in front of the defender to try to get something, but nothing that comes to fruition, nothing that's a really clear chance where they can do something with, where, you know what, it's a player holding the ball up, laying it off at the top of the box, or even commitment to get in the 18 or try to crash a defender so that they screw up on heading the ball to clear it out and then there's somebody following it up. I think we missed that hunger that Sophia Smith, Olivia Moultrie, and Sam Coffey bring to this team. I think this game proved that their attack mostly revolves around those players.
Absolutely. I think what we saw here looks a lot like what Portland looked like prior to Rob Gale taking over, which is really worrying because when you realize the responsibility on those three players is so
great. Who all
great.
could be going to the Olympics.
Right.
Potentially.
What happens with this side in their absence and how are they going to correct for that? Granted, now they have the empirical evidence to deal with to see what does happen in real play, but you don't want to have to sort of meander through that again, especially since he's gotten them to gel so well. He's going to have to come up with some big solutions.
This was the Cascadia rivalry, so for Portland, you're going to get the best of Seattle and vice versa. But Seattle tied for the most goals against, and Portland didn't put quite enough pressure. As we continue our NWSL chat mid-season recaps coming your way next. Welcome back to Attacking Third. Somehow the first half of the NWSL season is already behind us. Chapter 2 begins now, and there were quite a few players who made their case very strong with their first half of the season performances in some of the awards categories. So we thought this would be a good time to reflect on the first half of the season and make some predictions for who we think is going to lock up some of these awards. And we're going to start, Darian, with the Rookie of the Year. There have been some stellar performances from rookies across the board this season. Who do you got, though, making Rookie of the Year their very own this season?
I don't know if you guys heard of her. Corey Bethune, I think, has very much made her case. The Corey Bethune. I think she's very much made her case for being Rookie of the Year. At this rate already, 5 goals, 8 assists. She's had Player of the Month multiple times. Like, this girl is on fire, and I think she's showing no change of slowing down. And Spirit is going to have her through the Olympics as well, which I think is really important. But to me, she has this in the bag. I think already she, as Rookie of the Year, could be Player of the Year at this rate. Wow. I think she's unstoppable. I don't think that there's any rookie that's at the level that she's at or as effective as she has been able to be, because I do think she's one of those players that regardless of what team she's on, she actually would be this effective.
How much is being on a good team important in this too?
I mean, if you want to have we'll have this argument coming up. If you look at Centnor and productivity, I think it's
really important.
It's the perfect, but yeah, it makes a huge difference.
And your position.
But, like, also just your skill set, right? Like Croy, yes, goal scorer, assist, but like her passing, her progression in play and her ability to work that way is also invaluable to Washington Spirit, especially when you have the wings like a Trinity Rodman to work with among some of their other talented players. She's absolutely electric. She's really fun to watch.
Yeah, Croy Bethune. It's hard to disagree with that, but looking at impact as well and how just large of a percentage it's made for the team that they're on. Aly Trost-Martin has contributed to 5 of Utah's 7 goals. The offensive production clearly lacking with those numbers, but when they have found the back of the net, Aly Trost-Martin has been involved in one way or another. Another player, I think you put her on another team and is equaling
absolutely.
and exceeding the production that she's had.
For me, this one's a little bit more tough because if she were on another team, yes, she got drafted super high. I don't know if she would get the same amount of playing time she gets for Utah.
Okay, fair.
I think this is actually, as a forward, it's really tough going in. This is a really competitive league as a front line. It's incredibly competitive.
That's a good
so
point.
I think her being with Utah is actually good. I mean, it's not the best team to play on, but what an intro to your rookie year. You play nearly every game. You're integral to their success. You can rack up your assists and your goals because everything basically goes through you. Yes, it's not the first year you would want just because the team is doing poorly, but I think in the long run, this is going to be really great for her confidence-wise, her leadership, how she breaks teams down. Imagine if she had, I guess, more guidance of like a playing style around her, how effective she would be. And I think that's just going to come with time for her.
Yeah, that's a good shout, especially when you're asked to kind of hold water for the entire team.
She does. Yeah.
When you get to also specialize, you can see like where these players actually get to shine. And I hope we do actually get to that point where we get to see, her specialty, what she's particularly good at, where she can kind of just get rid of the generality of it and just specialize in what she's good at and shine more. Because what she's done already is kind of an insurmountable task. You're asking her 100%. To do a lot.
And I think because we're seeing her have to adapt, have to carry the team on her shoulders in certain ways, she's going to become a player you can build your team around. She's that type of player. But this is really good experience for her going into her second, third year. She stays at Utah, that she will be the face of the team and who they kind of pick players to build around her.
Speaking of faces of the team, a number of MVP candidates at the moment. And this is so hard because, again, you look at the teams that have been really successful this season. You've got Orlando, Kansas City still unbeaten. Hard to look past their teams as far as some of the key players that are helping lead them to those successful beginnings of the season. But then you've also got a player like Sophia Smith, who is just continuing to put up incredible numbers season to season. Cupo, who you got right now for MVP?
Oh, this is so hard. I'll go next. G?
Go on, throw it to me. I'm going to say Banda. For me, Banda, although she came a little later into the season, she has been so effective. And yes, there's Chawinga, there's Bia, there's Sophia. My word, there's so many players, but she changes the way that Orlando plays, in my opinion. When she's not on the field, Orlando has tied. They play completely different because she attracts so many defenders. She's able to score goals in a sea of defenders. I mean, she flicks people off of her as she's dribbling. To me, she's so effective, regardless of what team she's on. She would be a game changer, and we haven't seen teams be able to adapt to really stop her, if I'm honest. I think other players, you can adapt to stop them. We haven't seen that from Banda yet. I mean, she is a machine, and it's been so fun to watch, so she is my MVP thus far.
It's funny with Kansas City right now because while you think with how dominant they've been, especially on the goal scoring front, like, oh, well, let's just point to, the leading goal scorer. But there's been so much goal scoring production from so many different types of players. One candidate I feel strongly about, I love the Banda shout because Barbara Banda is just really taken this Orlando team to another level, which I think is a sign of an MVP. It's also like when we bring up a player like Sophia Smith, we just talked about how different Portland looked without her. An MVP changes your team. I think Vanessa DiBernardo has changed Kansas City. She's so crucial in progressing the ball, in helping on the defensive side, as well as really reinvigorated her career with Kansas City after dealing with so many injuries last season. She's come in and really sparked new life into this team, and you can tell how much fun she's having. Okay, Cupo, have you had enough time?
So hard. No, because see, my default setting is I feel like I'm being asked to choose between my favorite child, and I'm partial, obviously, to that attack for Kansas City because they're so much fun to watch, but I also just love Barbara Banda, and she has done all of that in fewer minutes than anyone has. They've tried, to your point, zone. They've tried to two-man her.
Yeah.
She wiggles free. She's just really, really fun to watch. I feel like for me, I got to go Banda. I think she's earned it already.
2 for Banda.
8 goals, 3 assists in just 649 minutes. Every other player has somewhere around 800, 900.
Everybody
1,000.
had a multi-match lead on her, and she just said, no big deal.
Here I come. Well, Orlando, they have been slow in their last couple of games, both draws and both low-scoring draws at that. All right, goalkeeper. of the Year award. We have seen some dominant goalkeeper performances, some over shorter periods of time, like an Anna-Katrin Berger, and others, like a Jane Campbell, who is quite literally the bane of Houston Dash's existence. Cupo, can I come to you first on this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm cool with this.
Take it away.
I am
feeling we'll all
wholeheartedly
agree.
10 toes down on Jane Campbell. She's phenomenal. I think the only other keeper in the league that's better with their feet is probably Kaylin Sheridan, but all of her other qualities outshine. She's just super smart. She's a brick wall. You trust her. She's that pillar for that team out the back, and you can tell she just has a commanding presence. She's just, it's it.
And Jane Campbell has been put to the test this season.
Yeah.
64 saves, which if we're comparing that to the likes of Mandy Hott, over both players over 1,000 minutes, Mandy Hott, 39 saves. I mean, she is getting
You also have to
peppered.
acknowledge that Houston played for already a chunk of this season with a makeshift back line. So it wasn't like they had optimal bodies in their correct roles to be able to even help her with some of the lighter work as it would be, that she's just been a force. She is one of the prime reasons that they're sitting just sort of, 11th right now on the table?
And for her to stay this consistent and constantly make saves, I mean, as a goalkeeper, you are in and out of games. Your energy has to be maintained. You watch Jane Campbell's body language, and she's always pretty even keel, but she is laser focused. She, you're right, is the glue to Houston's, kind of success this season, where they haven't lost more games or conceded more goals. She's definitely goalkeeper of the year for me, by far.
All right, clip this. We'll see if we're right later on in the season with our predictions here. For now, we're going to take a break on Attacking Third. When we come back, we are chatting some more NWSL, so don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Hey, welcome back to Attacking Third, continuing our NWSL discussion with some more mid-season awards, predictions, team of the season, all of this just to basically say, hey, we were either really smart or maybe not going to look so smart at the end of the year. But let's talk about our Shield predictions, because right now at the moment there are still two undefeated teams in the NWSL, Orlando and Kansas City, but that does not necessarily mean that one of those two teams could be winning the Shield at the end of this thing. Darian, who do you have winning the Shield at the end of 2020?
I have Orlando. They're my Shield winners because I think they're a little bit more solid defensively than Kansas. I think the two up there right now are obviously Kansas City and Orlando. They're more solid defensively. I think they'll let less in. There's less opportunities to score on Orlando. And especially if everybody's healthy on this team and they have, Marta, Banda, Adriana, Sams. I could name basically their entire lineup. But if they're all healthy, I think this is a really, really difficult team to score on, to get by, to break their press, to get possession from. So, everybody can score on Orlando too. So they've got my Shield predictions. Cupo?
That's a good shout. And I could go that way, only because Orlando right now by the numbers have the second best defense in the whole league.
Yeah.
But I digress. I'm going to go Kansas City Current, because their strategy of we're just going to continue to score a whole lot of goals and not worry about those pesky concessions.
Some pieces. I don't know her.
Listen. Okay. Blanca, we got to talk, man. But no, I think their productivity seems pretty sound, consistent match over match. They have 16 different goal scorers at this point for this squad. Literally, the goal can come from anywhere. At this point, I'm waiting for goalkeeper goals. But yeah, I think that Kansas City have just been a really fun squad to watch. That doesn't take anything away from Orlando. Obviously, Orlando, I'd say, has a more comprehensive approach to football at this point. But either way, the winners are us.
Because we get to enjoy it.
Yeah.
It really has been a fun season. So many goals as well. If you're not watching NWSL right now, you are missing out. But we know all of you watching this show are definitely tuned into what's going on. Let's also make a prediction for who we think is going to win the title this season, the NWSL Championship. Do Gotham go and repeat? It is so early, but that's what makes it fun, Christine. What do you think?
You're going to clip this and put this on the internet
Absolutely
forever, aren't you? I feel like it's too early to tell, and it's hard for me because I feel like there's always that swing in the season. I know we're at the midway point where teams start coming back. I'm still waiting for the Courage to have an answer going forward. I'm waiting to see what Angel City actually do if they manage to just iron out some of their little hiccups they have. Things currently as they stand, I feel like Orlando.
Ooh, Pride Girlies. I'm going with Gotham. I think Gotham can repeat. They look solid, consistent, regardless who's on the pitch.
The depth.
They have a lot of depth. Yes, they're not super flashy, high scoring, but I think that's also works in their favor. I think they're just very consistent. They're solid in the back line. They're midfield. They all know their roles. I did a tactical pack on Gotham's pressure. It is really, really difficult for teams to break down Gotham's press unless they have a very precise switching the point of attack and then can hopefully get into the attacking third. It's quite rare that they do, but if you have an in-form Lavelle, Delaney Sheehan, Yasmin Ryan, backline is good. And Katrin Berger has been such a great addition to this team. Her ability to play out, her reaction saves are insane. This is just a really, really solid team for me. So I think they can repeat.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say the team that
I don't know why my voice
out-
got so high just then, but
We're excited.
I think the team that figures out how to most effectively hit them in transition will be the winners of this.
we saw it a little bit with Kansas City. I mean, this is when we were like, Chawinga, what? When she lit the entire field up,
I say
the
that
camera
every
could
day.
barely keep up with her, and she finished. But I think that they found a way to kind of shut her down in the second half through their press. They just did one little thing, and Kansas City didn't have any answers to it.
It's a tight race at the top. Only 2 points separate first and fourth. Kansas City in first, Gotham in
And we didn't
fourth.
even mention like Washington Spirit.
Washington
And
Spirit
they're
right there in the
absolutely
mix
in the
as well.
conversation right now.
Do you think this is the year that we see a double team winning the Shield and the championship?
No, I don't. I think the NWSL too chaotic.
Honestly, that is a fair
it's
enough
crazy
rationale
here.
for
It's
why
crazy.
that wouldn't be the case.
I think, yeah, the disparity there where we don't really have one team that's outside of Gotham, I'd argue maybe even just in hindsight now, as just the completeness, where you know that they're so defensively sound and they can get the shots off. I'd say Gotham needs to bring up their shots and just be more clinical with goals, and they could be that perfect team.
Okay, before we get into each of your team of the season, who are you predicting as being a second half of the season dark horse, a team that really has, you think, the tools and are just a couple pieces away from turning it around and going on a run?
I can go first.
Yeah.
I gave mine away. I said Angel City because we saw them do it last year. We saw them corral around each other. They are in for the long run. They can grind out really tough games. You have Sid LaRue, who's looking like in form, Sydney LaRue. Alyssa Thompson, so many assists on this year. I want to see her get a goal. I want a goal for her so badly. And I think it's going to come. But we're seeing the tactics and development that Becky Tweed has been talking about all season long for Angel City finally come together. The defending piece in their box is the biggest struggle, and putting goals away, it's box to box. But in the middle half, they have everything. They have all the quality. They have the key players. It's just kind of formatting in a way that makes sense where they're scoring. And I think this game proves that they can. They just need to build on it and maybe not make it such a difficult road for them to get a win.
And they can be good attacking in a few different ways. They're working on more of that possession, build up
Lots of
style,
combination.
but they're also
Yeah.
really good in transition as well. Just got to put those final pieces together. Who's your pick, Christine?
You know what? I'm going to kick it to Cali too. I'm going to say the Wave, actually, because they have a lot of
good
really
shout.
great individual pieces, and I know it's been a work in progress. Casey Stoney's been at it. They've deviated in their systems a little bit, where they're trying to figure out when and where is best to play more direct. Still onboarding Maria Sanchez. You haven't really seen her show up the way that you know that she's capable of doing.
Onboarding Maria Sanchez.
Yeah, onboarding.
Selling
We're gonna call-
insurance. Just made me laugh.
But yeah, just like scoring goals, conceding less. I feel like there's simple things that they need to be doing, but like the talent pool is there. It's
Yeah.
just that they somehow haven't gelled yet.
They've been snake bitten in front of goal at times, and then just some defensive mistakes and
Yeah.
giveaways that it just comes down
They
to
are
mental
always
and
the
decision-making.
victim of their own errors, just like misdirected pass that ends up being converted into a goal, or just, they need to tighten it up.
Yeah. All right, team of the season time. Cupo, coming right back to you on this one. Take us through your team of
right.
the
No, the
season, because I
part
know
where-
that this was not an easy challenge for you.
If you could tell that I just bopped that earlier to D, I had a very hard time choosing my best 11 because it's just like a spoil of riches here. I love the attackers for sure. Trying to figure out like who the best defenders are is another ordeal in itself. I think Banda up top, Chawinga, Bia Zanerato, we've seen how much Chawinga and Bia can manage to get done together, and I just feel like those three are just terrifying. Can you imagine? It'd be like super team.
I'm scared.
DiBernardo is good at everything, everywhere. You can literally plug and play, even corners, set pieces. She's just an absolute gem to have. Coffee as a 6, she's a string puller in the midfield, and she manages to do a lot of heavy lifting in both attack and defensively. Corey Bethune, you can't go without the Rookie of the Year there. Niswanger, love her for her ability to get up and down that flank, but also for her ability to just send those long balls into the box. Like, her crosses are just absolutely beautiful. Gurma, rock solid in the back. There's no argument and or no need to go any further into that. Tierna Davidson, done absolutely great bit of work for Gotham this season. And of course, Casey Kruger, got to give her the shout for Washington Spirit work this season especially. But, you know, past Iron Woman, over 10,000 minutes played in May. She really, she knows what she's doing. She locked it in.
All right, let's see how Christine's best 11 would fare against Darian's best 11. Takes
You know what? It is not that different. Had some changes, but for me, Band at the 9, Chawinga and Smith as the wingers, because they can play both, but I mean, what a lethal front line. The young buck, Corey Bethune up there. How did you not include her? How could you not include her? DiBernardo and Coffey, same reasons. I think DiBernardo can slot in anywhere. She is such a lucrative player that can make connections with both lines, and honestly, whoever she plays with, Coffey, been so solid as a 6 defensively. I think we've seen her grow a lot this season in particular. Niswanger, the 2023 Rookie of the Year, obviously in there. Her service, I think, from that left side with her left and her right has proven to just exponentially grow, even though it was stellar last season. Stab finally getting her flowers. I think she's always been such a solid player. Iron Woman for her previous team. Finally getting her first call up. Gurma, Kruger. Kruger for me is a player that never gets flowers, and I hope to see her. She was on my Olympic team, so obviously she's going to be in my best 11. And then Campbell. How do you not include the goalkeeper who literally is the Houston Dash?
I'm surprised at how similar they were, and I capitulated between Tierna and Staub, which is just kind of funny, and I was like, oh, forget.
Needed a lefty in there.
Yeah.
I was like, Staub. Yeah,
I mean, like,
she deserves it.
Kruger great with both feet, but like, you know, integrate them.
We're going to keep arguing about all of the snubs and who we should have included, did include in the break. But when we come back, we're going to look ahead to the upcoming matches in the NWSL this weekend. Don't go anywhere. Hey, welcome back to Attacking Third. NWSL action coming your way this weekend. Matchday 14 is upon us. It all starts on Friday. Orlando Pride hosting Utah Royals at 8 p.m. Eastern. Doubleheader on Saturday. Dash, Wave, Bay FC, Angel City, Little Cali Clash. And then on Sunday, plop on your couch and don't go anywhere because you've got a full slate of games. Gotham FC, Washington Spirit will kick things off. And then you come right here to Golazo Network and Paramount Plus for the rest of the games. Portland Thorns, KC Current, Courage, Red Stars, Seattle Reign, Racing Louisville closing things out. A big weekend ahead for the NWSL. So let's preview these matchups. And Darian, the matchup between Kansas City and Portland is a rematch of the absolute thriller that opened the brand new CPKC Stadium and the 2024 season. And it was a doozy. 9 goals in that game. Kansas City won 5-4. Whiplash really is what it was like watching that game. What do you expect this time around?
Whiplash of box to box, just goals back and forth. I'm glad you tossed this game to me. I'm hoping for another exciting game. Maybe not 9 goals, but I want to see
10.
these teams. 10. No, I want to see these teams match up again because I think it was such an open game. And they've both had to adapt and grow so much as the season has gone on. Kansas City's just stayed on the front foot of how many goals they're scoring defensively. Still a lot of question marks, but they will score more than you score because they're still undefeated. But I'm looking forward to it because Sophia Smith is back. I think she's probably very hungry to get back on the pitch, shut everyone up, us included, talking about her red card.
As she should.
Put some goals away, use it as motivation. And I know from watching Portland's game against Seattle, they're hungry to put balls in the back of the net, to work on the attacking third, to work on their creativity, how dynamic they are, because that was not a fun Portland game to watch, a rivalry between Seattle and Portland. So I know there's a lot to make up for them on in this match. And then Kansas City coming off of a tie against Chicago. I mean, I think we're going to see a lot more goals.
Yeah.
Maybe not 9, but
maybe not
7.
9. 7. Still a lot. Cupo, another matchup that's going to be really a fun one as it relates to the top of the table right now is number 4, Gotham, taking on number 3, Washington Spirit. 2 teams in really good form right now. Gotham unbeaten in 9, the Spirit unbeaten in 5. who's going to come out on top.
Yeah, I mean, slightly different stories though, right? So Washington also coming off an attendance record at home where they drew against the Wave, which has been interesting. They've had some interesting results in their bag as well. I think Gotham have really started to gel together, and where they have pockets to fill, we've seen them, right? They have no problem just turning the page. New starting 11, let's go, new position, new role entirely, and being really, really effective. So I think the Spirit have their work cut out for them. They haven't been scoring nearly enough goals per match to really overcome a really solid Gotham defense. With that being said, Gotham really need to use the opportunities to be more clinical and get some goals scored.
And Gotham back at home, too. That's going to be another little edge in the favor of Juan Carlos Amoros's side. Another matchup going out to California. Bay FC hosting Angel City. And this is going to be a matchup between two teams coming in with a different, perhaps, mentality at the moment. Angel City coming off of that huge late winner 3-2 victory just last night. While for Bay FC, Darian, they really are going to be kicking themselves for how they lost that game against Utah. 1-0 late winner at home. What do you think is going to happen in this matchup?
My prediction is that I imagine Bay switching up their attack a bit because they had so many opportunities against Utah to honestly win the game in the first half. They let Utah crawl back, gain confidence, get set pieces, and they were able to put away a beautiful goal from Kate Del Fava on Father's Day, but they should have won that game. Bay won in every single category besides just putting opportunities that they created away. For me, LA is growing in confidence. This is a team that knows that they can score. They have the speed, they have the players to turn you around. They also have the exact same players that are so much quality in the pocket, combining with each other, sending balls in for crosses. So I think my take is it's going with LA, but I think it'll be a really good game, a good test between these two teams that are kind of having very different battles at this point in the season.
For Bay FC, do you think some of their struggles in front of goal, because some of the shots that they missed against Utah were like shocking. It seemed a little bit unlucky. How much of that do you think was a luck factor or signs of bigger attacking issues for this team?
For me, it's a lack of confidence. When you're in front of goal and you're a forward and you have seemingly an open net or an opportunity where it's a really simple finish you've done routinely numerous times in training, you're lacking the mental confidence to actually do it. And it happens. As a forward, it's a complete roller coaster of how you're feeling and vibing throughout the year. Does Albertine Montoya give the same starting lineup to these three that we saw in there with Hill, Ashwala, and Kundananji? I don't know. Do you try to get them confidence by coming off of the bench and, you know what, come and prove yourself? We'll see. I think we're seeing that with Castellanos not starting a lot of games.
Shout. Yeah.
It's difficult to see what they're going to do, but they need to put away the opportunities. They're not a bad team.
Yeah. I was going to say, I really sincerely doubt that Albertine Montoya is not working through the technicalities of
I'm
goal
sure,
scoring.
yeah.
So it's definitely not that at all. So, I mean, maybe they need to burn sage.
True. And it's hard with Bay, too, because we've seen, they're having great defensive games. Great defensive game for them. Then the next game, well, they're scoring, but they're getting scored on.
And then their performances playing other California teams is very bizarre in contrast to some of the others where it's like, you only want to try to beat your fellow rivalries. All right.
Orlando, Utah. Utah riding the high from that big win on the road, 1-0, the score, late winner by Kate Del Fava, while Orlando have slowed down just a bit, coming off back-to-back draws, 1-0-0, one of those 1-1. Where do you think both teams are at going into this one, Christine? Orlando, they've been slower, but from just looking at the body of work on the season, you've got to favor Orlando in this one.
I would say saddle up, Ellie Sentner, T's and P's. But I think Orlando are going to come back out hammering with a vengeance because they know they can, and they can exploit any of that defensive weakness and just crank their goals as they should.
Meanwhile, for Utah, Darian, if they were able to
I get all the Utah.
Now to our Utah correspondent.
I know. You're from Utah. What do you think?
What do you think?
It's tough because I like that they have a win. That's great confidence for the players. I mean, to go that long winless is a struggle. How do you have confidence? How do you enjoy going out on the field on the weekend to play? So I love this for the players personally. The organization as a whole, it wasn't a great win. Yes, they fought out Bay, but Bay had so many opportunities. A team that's in form is going to put those away. Could have been 4-0 in the first
they
half.
have already conceded 25 goals.
Yeah,
so it's like
it
buy
could have
yourself a
been
goal
4-0.
here.
So for me, what I would love from Utah is to see some sort of adaptation or growth in their game plan. Is that you go into a low block and you're looking to transition? Are you doubling down on Banda and you're just switching the point of attack on Orlando and trying to get end line and cut crosses back? Something like that is a win for me for Utah. Like how are you developing your game? What's the game plan? What's the trend I can pick out as I'm watching where I'm like, oh yes, I love this. This suits your personnel. This is a playing style. Love this for you. Even if you don't get a win, it's growth for me.
Okay, quickly before we wrap up today, how likely do you think it is that we see one of the unbeaten teams fall this weekend?
Woo!
Kansas City, Portland,
I could
Orlando,
see
Utah.
Kansas City falling to Portland.
They're going to be on the road at Portland.
I feel like knowing now, the caveat being that I think that Portland are now hyper aware that all eyes are on them after this debacle. I'd see it as more of the necessity to make a statement. If there is.
And you're at Providence Park with that crowd behind you.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with my money's with Portland.
All right, there we go. That's going to do it for us today. Tune in on Sunday for a special edition of Attacking Third and on Monday to recap all the weekend's action. And there is the schedule you can watch on Galazzo Network. That's going to do it for us. This has been Attacking Third, brought to you by PNC Bank, brilliantly boring since 1865.